World Cup winners once again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to all the people that stayed up or woke up in the morning to be six-time one-day international champions. You didn't play, you probably didn't even watch it, but my God, you felt something. And we put the question out there, Pez. We put the question, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? And here's how the people felt.
Was there a World Cup? Is that 6 now? Nice.
Just woke up. Come on, the boys.
Sucker fucker ding dong. Australia, you fucking beauty.
That was fucking easy. Oh my God. What has happened to you boys? We got the fucking dogginess. The Aussies have got that fucking knockout cricket dogginess.
Pat's a fucking legend and climate change is real.
6 World Cups and all is all good and stuff, but have you guys ever won an Asia Cup? Because we have 8 of those.
The West Coast going to be picking Harley Reid.
I'm off to just get me solar panels installed.
Captain, come!
What troubles me most is Matthew Hayden was right this whole time. Apparently, we are just fucking champions and nothing else matters. Fuck yeah. Up here, big doss. My condolences, boys, for the view count and the engagement online. It's been a big couple of years. But I guess it's time to get real jobs again. Where do I submit refund requests for the shows coming up over summer?
Dodie or Virat.
Fuck, I'm tired. But how good? How good's that?
Just want to say, how good was it to see Stoyne and Zampa just skipping the handshakes and going straight for the medal? You know, Stoyne didn't even play, but what a fucking alpha.
It's 8:42 a.m. on Monday, the 20th of November. I've had no sleep. I'm feeling rough.
We love head.
This is beautiful. I feel it in my loins.
There is no passion, there is no desire, there is no love, there is no pride, just ego. Everybody apart from Kohli can live with their head held high. No, my head is on Pluto. Ah!
Congratulations to you boys. Big chest out shit from the old bin lid. Didn't quite finish off, did he, like Stokesy, but whatever. Not a big deal. Wasn't quite the 2019 World Cup, but still nonetheless to do that in India, yeah, fine. We could have done it, but we didn't fancy it. We're a bit tired from the Ashes, to be honest, mate. Just going to pop on the old 2005 Ashes highlights to go to bed.
Give me head, give me comments.
9-2, fuck off.
I think a lot of the Western world over the last few years has been opining as to what to do in the face of Indian dominance. You know, the sheer number of people, the amount of money invested in the Indian Premier League has really threatened our understanding of cricket. But all it took was a bit of intent in the field, you know, tight read for your boys first and overs front foot, see you later. 6 World Cups and a song.
2-0 and you fucked it up. 2-0 and you fucked it up.
Chest, pipes, all things nice. It's 4 a.m. and I am fucking Jack.
9-2, fuck off, 6 World Cups and a song indeed. Before we get into the show dissecting the World Cup, I want to give a shout out for our live shows. An update there, we're doing Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Fremantle. Adelaide, December 14 is now completely sold out, as is Melbourne on December 20 at the Forum. That is sold out. Sydney at the Enmore, January 2nd. Tickets available for that, as is Brisbane at the Princess Theatre the following night, January 3. 3. So tickets are available for Sydney and Brisbane, and that means also that Fremantle, the next night, January 4, is sold out. Adelaide, Melbourne, Fremantle, all sold out. Tickets only available now for Sydney and Brisbane on January 2 and January 3. Tickets on the internet at greycricketer.com/live-shows. You can just go to greycricketer.com and figure out how to use the internet from there with the live shows tab available. We are desperate for you to come along and see us. We are desperate. We're desperate.
Desperate.
These will be the biggest shows we've ever done, and we're so excited. And we've got some amazing venues, and we're so excited to see you guys and see your faces there. But there are only tickets now available for Sydney and Brisbane, January 2, January 3. Tickets at greycricketer.com. And Pezza, just a shout out, we are releasing our best ever merch collection this week. We haven't got the details for you right now, but you're going to have to stay tuned, I suppose, as much as you can stay tuned to anything these days, what with TikTok brain and all. But it is going to be our biggest and best ever releasing of merch this week.
You might find a few phrases that you've been enjoying. I'm just speaking to you, Hugo, looking you in the eye here.
Yes.
But
I've enjoyed some phrases.
I think we've done it correctly. It's a very, very good collection. There's going to be some information across the socials in the next couple of days. The window will be short to get your merch. It'll be there ahead of Christmas. Very, very excited to drop that because a lot of people have been asking about merch with particular phrases on them. I think we're delivering strong.
So there you are. World Cup winners 1 week. Merch being released. Live shows, a brand new live show. If you've been to one before, come along again. It's not just like a sit-down live podcast kind of conversation. It is a show. So
well, it's a World Cup winners show
it's
now.
It's a World Cup winners show.
Everything TGC and Australian cricket does now will have the sheen of World Cup winners.
Yes.
Now, ahead of the World Cup, not that interested in the format.
Not
and
that
I thought
interested.
it was on its knees, but I've always thought ODI cricket is the best format.
Well, it's high skill. You know, bowlers can take fifers, batters can score hundreds.
And it's a test of technique as well over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And that's why the cream really rises to the top.
It takes one day.
Yeah, well, did for India.
Support for this podcast comes from our dear patrons. Record numbers of Patreon at the moment. Patreon.com/greycricketer. Hashtag AskTGC Fridays all the way through. You can also get all of our audio stuff on Spotify these days. The specific feed for you can search TGC Patreon on Spotify. You can unlock the episodes there, but you can sign up for $5 or $10 a month at patreon.com/greycricketer. Pezza, just checking notes here. Australia have won the World Cup. And to start with this, well, okay, over the course of the last few years, we've been very fortunate to make some great friends in India, and we've had opportunities that many others haven't. Even just being able to go to India a couple of times the last few years, and there is a genuine, deep sadness in the country. And I pulled out one more speak pipe from one of our Indian fans here, and I just want to highlight their troubles over the last decade.
All right, guys. Yep. 2014 lost to Sri Lanka. 2015 lost to Australia. 2016 lost to West Indies. 2017 lost to Pakistan. 2018, thank fuck there was no cricket. 2019 lost to New Zealand. 2020, thank fuck for COVID. 2021 lost to New Zealand. 2021 again didn't qualify. 2022 lost to England. 2023 lost to Australia. Yep. I love cricket.
I love cricket. Great sport, indeed.
Lost Australia twice in 2023 as well. I could have said that.
There at the moment in India, there'd be a deep level of mourning over what has happened.
Grief.
And just a feeling generally is that they've shit tipped themselves out of winning their own World Cup. So I mean, there is that, and it's kind of that almost feels like the headline, but I suppose it's probably more relevant to talk about Australia and how well they played, perhaps. But I just want to acknowledge the level.
This is
of
this
grief.
is the thing. Like once again, you're trying to apply the grade cricket lens. It's a very complicated state of play. Like for me. The number one rule of playing grade cricket is that while you spend something that upwards of what would the OECD would call a part-time job on the game. Say, you play on Saturday, you play on Sunday. What are you looking at there? About 16 hours, give or take. You're training twice a week as well. That's 4 hours, probably when you're like to and fro. So it was 16 plus 8 or something like that. So for 32 hours a week on cricket, when you add in getting there, etc., Rego, the amount of money you're down, all that kind of stuff.
Before you even shadow batting naked in front of the mirror.
That's right. Before you even get into the mental labour of the game.
Right.
And that can take place while you're asleep.
Dreaming you can't get your pads on in time,
that's
that kind of gear.
Although you provide that commitment to the game, like you're not allowed to show anybody that you actually like the thing.
That's exactly it.
You're not allowed to talk about it outside of playing. You don't even really follow it. You don't follow international cricket or anything like that. It's a very difficult catch-22 kind of paradox. Like you play so much that it will be a part-time job. There's opportunity cost that goes with that as well, not just at the time, but into your life as well. Time that you could be investing into your education and your career.
Yes.
It costs you, it's not unreasonable to say it costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's when you add in therapy bills and cost of relationships down the track. The way, anyway, this is going longer than I meant to.
In many ways, like this podcast is much like Fight Club. First rule, not allowed to talk about it.
Exactly. That's right. Well summed up. And yet you're not allowed to show any passion for the game. This is the problem I've got. Right. Because I'm 38 and I am like at a soul level. Yeah. Feeling like on cloud 9, whatever that is. I am fucking walking on air at the feeling of being in the country of a team that is world champion.
Right.
And on top of that, like the manner in which they did it. Yeah. Like fucking against the, extraterrestrial power of India, an aligned nation state of supremacy where cricket is the instrument to demonstrate such. 10-0, unbeatable through any phase of the game. And the reaction that we've seen since, like the Simon and Garfunkel sound of silence. Right. Is the sweetest tune. Yeah. It just is. And then I haven't even started talking about England.
Just we're tired from the Ashes. Knackered.
No, we're tired. like those circumstances. This is better than a home World Cup and our own pomp and ceremony and pageantry. Yeah. This is completely against the odds. I can see there are efforts now for people to kind of retrospectively say, well, the game was quite even and really depended on the toss. No, that's not right. I'm going to go into the anatomy of this victory throughout this podcast. Like if you're Aussie and you want it, fucking settle in for the way this happened. Yeah. Middle overs, I mean, it is among the greatest sporting feats in Australian history.
100%.
And that is why on this cast right now, I'm calling very earnestly and solemnly for Cricket Australia and the government to announce imminently the ticker tape parades around the state.
There needs to be a fucking ticker tape parade.
Dust off the fucking ticker tape parades now. And not just because we want the novelty of blokes in a car going around the streets.
Yes.
Okay? Though we do. But Cricket Australia needs to think carefully about the fact that there will be punishment for this victory, possibly in the form of the complete decline and eradication of international cricket.
Possibly.
If Cricket Australia wants to invest in the like the popularity of international cricket, of the idea that Australia as a nation knows how to win, it's somehow contained within our DNA. There is an unbroken lineage of winning irrespective of political position and also politics between generations. Okay. Then there should be a ticker tape parade.
Give us a ticker tape
so
parade.
that the nation understands and revels in the supremacy of Australian wins. I'm sorry for international listeners about the sheer obnoxiousness of this.
This is our right.
But it is our right.
This is our right.
Dust off the cars, get some streamers involved, go through OHS and everything else you need to do in 2023, and let us cheer on our heroes in our various states.
Put them in a couple of fucking Saabs if they're still making those. Put them in the back of an MG.
Well, I'll tell you
in a soft top. Put it down. Let them parade through George Street.
Put them
through Fed Square.
Put them in a Toyota Hilux. I saw that ad enough. Get those two actors on. Get them back together, because that's all I wanted throughout the World Cup.
We can settle their divorce right now.
It was funny. The line was delivered well. Obvious. That was good. But I don't like that they were divorced. No, honestly, I really need them to get back together. So get them driving the car.
Yeah.
Get the boys out the back. Can you imagine the fucking ski goggle action that will be happening? It
Put
would
them in
be
a couple of fucking
incredible.
Teslas.
We've got the flattest summer of all time coming up.
Yeah.
Put the boys in a Hilux
Yeah.
and get them around the country.
Ticket
Okay?
tapes. Okay?
Okay,
Ticket
seriously,
tapes.
We'll drive the car.
We'll drive them.
The nation is crying out to fate their heroes. I may or may not have had a text from one of the players, I won't say who it is, who said, I want to be back home to soak it up. These T20s are a fucking joke. Okay? The players want to be home. The nation wants to fate them.
Yep.
We're trying to save international cricket. Cricket Australia and the government put them in a Hilux. This is not an ad for Hilux, by the way, but we are open to sponsorships.
Be good ad.
They can get back together. There's Zorby in ski goggles.
Yeah.
And yeah, see?
The bin lid with fucking 1993 Steve Waugh Oakleys fucking doing some
Exactly.
finger pistols.
Yellow Wiggles.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. Get the Wiggles involved
It
and
is-
the bin lid next
it's
to the Wiggles.
one of
Well,
the greatest wins of all time. Of all time, Pezza.
Offering marketing stuff. You know, we already had the Bairstow jokes
Yeah.
to get the summer going. Let's get the bin lid on stage with the Wiggles at Fair Square. He's the yellow Wiggle now, honorary. Fuck me.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This level of success, like this style of win, this level of win, what they've achieved from where they were and the opposition they were facing in the circumstances around it. And then, you know, I'm coupling that just culturally, the lens of like, you know, that India, like the opposition, they're just not going to laugh at what's happened because it's deep level mourning.
Yeah.
But I played third grade.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, it's really, really funny how they've lost. That's my culture, you know? My culture's fucking third grade. It's Benson's Lane. It's flies the size of cats, you know?
Correct.
It's sun damage, it's broken dreams, it's failed relationships, it's wasted Saturdays is what it is, Pezza. Okay? That's not my problem. Is it my problem? Of course it is.
Well, it's a cultural...
But Australia have won one of the greatest matches of their entire life. I'm talking America's Cup shit, okay?
Whatever that was.
Whatever it was. I've just heard about it. My dad went.
We were into sailing in 1983 or whatever the fuck it was.
For a week and a half.
Yeah.
Much like they were into the women's soccer for a bit.
Statues for them. Finished fourth.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. I mean, what a year. What a year. Like,
I can't believe I just said women's soccer. Sorry, that was aggressive.
That was aggressive.
That was
yeah,
that,
the rest,
that bit was
fine.
too far.
What a year. Like, this team behaves impeccably. I want to talk about that in a second and how they are distinct from those who came before.
Bit on the nose, isn't it? Did they win hard enough?
But yeah, we've been very clear that behind closed doors is going to be court jester hats and G-strings and masks and tangerines and belts. You know, we know that about the boys.
That's what we know.
Okay?
We already know this. We know it.
But the damage to oppositions through the year as well. You know, like the internet ruins your brain from a tribal perspective. It's actually very bad for us, and we need to get off it and build a business around it. But you know, what happened with Bairstow when it was out and the wind-up from the puce-faced snob toffs.
What a year it's been, Pezza.
To win that game at Lords and to come home with the Ashes.
God damn
and to go over there, 130,000, 110,000, 80,000, 90,000, whatever the fuck you want it to be. Fair few of them knocking about.
It's a big
50,000,
big old bowl,
10,000
okay?
at the end.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, you got... What more could we ask? I mean, this is the fucking Shangri-La.
This is as good as it gets.
Modi giving the trophy to Cummins.
Yeah.
Daisy Cuttazine, very good. Curb Your Enthusiasm music over the top.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, I don't know what else to ask for.
I'm sorry.
I think it's amazing.
Oh, God damn it. I mean, I thought Steve Waugh and Ricky Ponting gave us the best years. Waugh and McGrath, I thought the good times would never end, and then they ended for a long period of time. But this year, 2023, has this been the funniest meme-ish year of all time? Maybe.
I want to say, I want to make a point on this. You say that we haven't experienced success for a while. Now, my observation is that following this World Cup win, for opposition fans who don't pay as much attention to our own lives because we're all inherently self-interested individuals, look it up, it's in philosophy, this win has represented like a continuation, an extension of an unbroken lineage of Australian cricket winning. And I also think a lot of people at home, you know, are couching this Australian team in that way as well. Like this idea that the Australian teams forever, you know, 5 out of 7 last 7 World Cups, etc., 6 overall, like inherently extraterrestrially know how to win, and that's a compliment to the team. But like, there is also something significantly distinct from this team than Australian great teams that have come before. Like their very foundations, this team have been stylistically, like attitudinally laid in, like carved in deliberate contrast to the greats that have come before. Like this team have been waiting for an exclamation mark on how good they are. We've talked about the Neely team for so long. You know, the amount of like capital that like Cummins and the team risked by taking on JL and saying we refuse to build our team around the principles of the teams that came before. We're going to do it differently. That is not us. We can't do an impression of those that came before. I think, like, you know, it's very must be very satisfying to them. Like this is a team built on, we've heard it before, calmness, humility, but almost like post-ego in the way that it conducts itself. Like it's in the image. This is a team in the image of Cummins and the man who refuses to take a curtain call, Andrew McDonald. Haven't heard a thing from the coach after winning the World Cup, right? Does it? He just lets the players take all of the glory, right? That's post-ego shit. Like that is serious self-actualization, and it's the same for Cummins as well. And I think that a lot of people have struggled, both home and opposition fans have found this team beguiling, in the sense that like, you know, like Cummins' captaincy, for example, has been so routinely like questioned. You know, his methods, his utterances, like frustrate people because he's a bowler or because of his political positions or because he doesn't look like the captain or behave in the way that we're used to Australian captains and teams behaving. People have struggled this year to like use the trope of the ugly Aussies, even though they've wanted to, because there's nothing ugly about this team. There's just like they're almost built in opposition to that. Like during the game, you know, as Matthew Hayden towered over Harsha Bogle on commentary, bellowing that he was going to own Harsha.
And then call himself the Big Doss.
And then that he was going to feel the wrath of the Big Doss. Could that not have provided a greater contrast to the Aussie team, who were like on the field diving for catches, working as a team, no sledging, no carry-on.
Yeah.
Now you have the big pinker Cooper there, roaring, bellowing at this like sort of
standing over
senior ornament to the game, who is gently asking him to cease yelling at him. You know, that is the contrast.
You're going to feel the wrath of the Big Doss.
Like, could you imagine any of the, like, and you know, Dostoevsky's gonna Dostoevsky, you know? I felt it provided quite an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
And this team's been waiting for their own moment to be like, we're great too, and to emerge from the shadow. So a lot of people are going to link them with the teams gone by now. Oh, this is an unbroken continuation of excellence and greatness, and there is a compliment to that, but they're very, very different, this team. You know, they conduct themselves differently, and they needed to work so hard to get out of that shadow. Cummins' leadership is central to all of that. He now has the tactical acumen to go with the unquestionable people management skills he's got. He reminds me, and this is more of an Eastern State thing, but like he actually reminds me a lot of John Eales and the excellence of that Wallabies team. You know, 99-01, a forward captaining the team under Rod McQueen, a smart guy who didn't take a curtain call either. It's probably the most proud I've been of an Australian team since that Wallabies team back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm vulnerably proud of them.
I want to take a second to acknowledge how wrong I was about everything.
I'll join in.
So just highlighting some of the things that I couldn't believe that happened or was on the other side of the fence with in terms of a 50-50 call. So they went into the World Cup not only just missing Ashton Agar through injury. Now that can happen, obviously. I mean, even look at India, they missed Hardik Pandya mid-tournament. So injuries do happen, but they're not replacing him with another spinner if one was available at all. I thought that was obscene. Most aggressive word possible. I didn't think it was obscene.
The guy's making joke. No, I won't go to there.
I was saying for a long time that you're just not going to win shit with Marnus and Smith in the same side. I thought not picking Nathan Ellis in the squad at least was a mistake. I had Stoinis over Marnus Labuskakin in both the semi and the final. I thought changing the wicketkeeper mid-tournament was a massive, massive risk. I just don't think a team that wins the World Cup is going to do that. I thought they were underprepared. I thought they lobbed up. I thought they looked tired. I wasn't really sure how much they wanted it. Cummins was talking before about, he was still figuring out this format as a captain. I thought it was like, why are you even playing this, man?
Yeah.
And maybe some of these are partially true anyway, but maybe this all fits into, so I'm not completely excusing myself. I've said I want to apologise, but I'm like, but I was actually right.
In the end, sort of.
But when you sort of understand things like me.
Left a bit of wiggle room there just for the old opinion to sort of just morph into being part of the winners.
So, but maybe this is like all part of like how incredible it is that they have managed to win it despite all of these things happening. But at the same time, fucking hell, as it's turned out, I was wrong about so many things. And maybe it should be that I'm just an internet comedian. But you think about all these things that have happened, and they've won the World Cup by 6 wickets, basically in the final, fucking walking it with 7 overs left. Wow. I don't know what else to say about that. But like, how many of those things were we talking about? Were we opining, thinking it's just not possible?
Yeah,
and they've walked the final.
Who knows, man? Like, does all of that mean that it reveals there was a greater truth all along that Australia was the best team? Probably not.
No.
But did Australia absolutely take the cake in the final? Physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, most likely. Marnus had God on his side for the entire time, I think.
True.
And Golden Balls must have done something good in a previous life. I agree. I think when Australia lost those first 2 games, I said, here comes the cliff of Australian cricket. And once again, revealing that, you are always in danger of being deeply sensationalist when you're in media.
Oh, didn't you know what was going to happen?
Why don't you just stay measured your entire life, be a vanilla little milquetoast fuckwit so that you never make a mistake?
Fucking hell, he's milquetoast. He's fucking milquetoast.
MILQUE toast.
After they got not just lost, they got fucking smashed in the first 2 games after losing heavily in South Africa for the last 3 games. And then Sri Lanka in the 3rd game were none for 125 after 20 overs. A couple of drop catches already happened. And I was thinking, wow, this is going to be what England's tournament turned out to be. It was that on a precipice.
It just goes to show. It's not luck, but they even asked Cummins. Cummins after the Sri Lanka game was like, no, I didn't think that we'd ever be out of it. Of course. And they asked Cummins before the final. He's like, yeah, it crossed my mind. So it was on.
Yeah. Well, I saw Warner tweet just like something about being written off and stuff. Have you got it?
Warner said, who said I'm finished?
Are you talking about himself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw the one I'm talking about. He was talking about the team, and he's like, "Who thought we'd be here?
Yeah,
We did."
They love that shit.
They
don't they? Zampa's receipts. Yeah.
How many times we got tagged in that? But
you set yourself up.
He'd obviously just written down a piece of paper and then taken a photo. He didn't have any receipts.
I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but replied to one of his stories on Insta, and I just wrote receipts, and he wrote, "Yeah, I'm about to do the song. Can you remember anyone?"
Yeah, fuck them. Fuck all of them. Fuck all of them.
I said us.
Yeah. They said it would never happen. They wrote us off.
That's awesome.
Mate, it's funny. They won 9 games in a row to win the World Cup. I mean, they were also, you even go back to the Afghanistan game when they were 7 for 91, chasing 290. And then had they lost that game, as they were about to do before Glenn Maxwell does his thing, i.e. score 201 red, Cummins a bit slow in the innings for me, but I also like energy companies. I support them.
And coffers.
And coffers.
And Cricket Australia's coffers.
I like Cricket Australia's coffers. For me, I've always been a coffers guy.
I don't like any risk to Cricket Australia's coffers vis-a-vis sponsor dollars from energy companies, and that's why I'm against Cummins.
That's right, and I understand how those sort of things work as well, those sort of things. Anyway, in that game against Afghanistan, had they lost that game, that would mean they would have needed to win the game against Bangladesh because of... So even in that position, they were still sort of like fighting for their way in the tournament. They obviously scored nearly 400 against New Zealand, nearly lost that game. They didn't, though. They won that game, Pezza.
Yeah.
They won that game.
There's all these things that nearly happened and didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, they didn't prepare for this World Cup like it was
That's why it's so funny.
An integrated, planned, aligned, long-term campaign, like the way we do in Ashes, for example. This was, without doubt, a nice to have.
Yeah.
This was get the band together and see what we can do. And that's
do a
part of
couple
the
of
joy of
RSLs.
it. Yeah. Do a couple of RSLs so I can pay the rent.
Couple of covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the eyeliner back on, going around one more time. I don't know what band that is.
So yeah, like I mean, for me, I've always, it's like what's your poison? Do you enjoy a cacophony of noise and a home victory where everybody in the stadium is as one with the team that's just won, and you can enjoy it as a community, or do you enjoy an away victory where you can see people's visceral pain in the stadium?
Yeah.
Now, I got no gripe with quote unquote the Indian fan or fans. Like, I think that toxicity is bred across all societies in different ways. It's no different in India, other than that there's 1.4 billion of them, so everything seems at a larger scale. Like, there are messages knocking about that are completely heinous. There are death threats. There is revisionist history. There is complete elimination of any responsibility Australia has for the victory. There's abuse. But for every one of them, I've received dozens from people who are saying congratulations and you guys are the better team. It's just that in India, and you can feel this in Australia with our relatively small population, probably proportionately represented in that stadium, just the scale of the place. And it makes the victory all the more satisfying because it feeds into, just that basic David Goliath situation. A lot of people will be listening going, Australia doesn't get to claim the role of David in international cricket. And even the team would say that. But, against all the forces at play, they were. I mean, even English people were saying they were supporting Australia. That says something about the size of India, the power of India, and probably also that people have seen that, like, Cummins and his team are quite decent blokes. Like, the amount of English people I feel like I've heard over the last couple of weeks begrudgingly concede that they seem like a decent bunch of guys. It's such a shame. Huge. Like, that is the biggest fuck you to England possible. It's killed them with kindness stuff. It's actually psychopathic. Need
a couple of fuckwits. Well, they do.
They
do.
I mean, we're not perfect, but there's probably a couple knocking around. But
nah, I think we actually are 26 million perfect people. That was the original name of the country. But then the population went up, so I had to change it.
Van Diemen's Land, 26 million perfect people, Terra Australis, and then Australia.
That was before Terra Nullius, of course. So I tell you, it was more satisfying as well. Not necessarily more satisfying, just added to the satisfaction though. Rather, was just like how long it took for the ceremony to begin. That took an hour after the game. There was a couple of the boys just brushing Jay Shah and Modi in their handshakes, and then they give the trophy to Cummins. The boys head off there. The boys head of the stadium. That being the standing in Prime Minister and Modi, and then he's just sort of hanging around, just being like, so, guess I'll just hold this for a bit. And then there's fireworks going off in the air.
It was pretty hot camera work, I thought. Like, clearly Modi was going to shake the players' hands. Camera just stays on Cummins. I know, this is very awkward.
Look at this idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
What an idiot.
I don't know, man. It was... I mean, look, we had been... Look, I'm sorry to say this, but
right,
we had been... you can tell how sorry I am to say what I'm about to say, but we did say to the Indian fans, if some of them are still listening, like, we did say, they failed to have the loss they had to have.
We said this.
And they just had it in the final.
A lot of people have been saying that we had jinxed them because we've been butting them up, saying you're going to win. And then, I saw this morning actually on the news that apparently every year before Thanksgiving they put 2 turkeys in the White House and they just like parade them around. That's fucked up because they eat turkey. I mean, have we done the same thing with the Indian cricket populace with the fandom saying like, you're going to win, come into our house, welcome, congratulations, bam, we're going to eat you. Is that exactly the same thing?
Pretty much.
Yep.
I just call it an each way bet, really.
Couple of teams in it, 50-50 chance.
Australia wins, feels great. India wins, views up.
Can we talk about the size of the fucking balls on the captain to bowl?
Yep. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it. We've spoken about it on our YouTube stuff and our Patreon gear as well, where you can support us there if you want to. But like the level of that, I mean, that's another thing. Like we were saying before the game, as I think 99% of people were, except for Dos, to be fair. Except for Dos, who posted on his own on his own.
Doss posted on Instagram some footage that appeared to be from before the game.
Yeah.
Saying that if Australia's brave, they'll bowl first on this deck. He was explaining the conditions. Try and
keep him down to sort of.
Yeah, he said 240.
He said 240.
240. Yeah, that's very good from Doss. He also captioned it by explaining that
he didn't get time to.
He only posted it after the game when those things happened, when he got the time. So, just didn't post it at the time.
Dostradamus.
Oh, when I thought about Cummins bowling first there, he explained so many things in a really straightforward manner, which is always the hallmark of really bright leaders.
And a liar.
And a psychopath. But the hallmark of great leaders being access to excellent clarity. Like when he speaks about it, of course, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that, yeah.
But like, I prefer to think of it as, true like military tactical excellence of springing the surprise on the opposition, because there was so much talk, and I think validly, about whatever adjective you want to use. Let's call it tailoring the pitch to Team India's advantage.
Mark tailoring.
And a decision being made at some point that type of wicket was going to advantage the home team.
Right.
Now, I just wonder if the decision to tailor it that way was predicated on a presumption that Australia would bat first if they won the toss. So that they were just going to take that... and so that if Australia won the toss, if the unthinkable happened and Australia won the toss, that India would have an immediate advantage by being able to bowl their superior spinners first, have first use of it. And what they didn't count on was Australia having the lowest swinging testicles of essentially touching that turf by bowling first, because nobody suggested it, apart from Doss, after the fact.
Yeah.
So...
Cummins had to tape his ankles because his balls were slapping against him.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we're talking
about. That's right.
Here. Not sure what tape's got to do with it, but you get the idea.
Well, I've never had to do that.
He was icing his ankles. That joke would have worked better. Oh, well, mistakes. We've all made a few. Let's talk about the bin lid, man. Let's talk about Travis Head, who lost his CA contract in 2021. I hadn't remembered that. I thought he was always contracted, but obviously not the case. But then, obviously people have highlighted his performance in the World Test Championship final, 150-something against India there, to be player of the match in that game.
He got dropped before then, though, in India, and bought a Gavaskar trophy
That's
as
right.
well.
That's right.
Dropped from the side, first test.
Yes, that's right. And then he came back and opened the batting and then performed admirably. He's also been player of the series in the Ashes, in the last home Ashes for Australia. He's been excellent. He's been outstanding. I mean, that's before you get to the contributions with the ball. And then in the same game as the World Cup final, taking one of the great World Cup catches, let alone World Cup finals catches. I mean, it's a fucking screamer. Yeah. It's a hanger. It must have been spinning as well, given that it was sort of skewed away to the offside of Rohit Sharma.
Spin bowler, and then slicing off the bat as well. Yeah. So spin, like squared.
Yeah, spin
slicing
squared.
away over his left shoulder, running back as it's curving towards him.
Context of the game: Rohit Sharma can easily be player of the match. He goes on at a decent clip and scores 80 instead of 47.
Yeah,
goes and scores 100 off 75 balls or something. India probably win the game because Australia's all of a sudden chasing 290. To be fair, Australia would chase 500 as it turned out. But yeah, I mean, just like the contribution that he has had to Australian cricket is sensational, and just that innings, it's fucking. I've watched all 300s scored by Australians in finals, Ponting, Gilchrist, and then Head, and I reckon, Ponting in 2003 was pretty good, but it was different. But like this is, I think it's better.
Yeah, it is better.
No one's asking for my rankings, but I think it might be.
Well,
just for the context of it all,
punter's red, but
yeah,
140 not off 121 balls. Ricky Ponting, in South Africa, first innings
against India,
against that Indian attack.
Yeah, Zahir Khan, Harbhajan.
It's not these guys.
Srisanth.
Yeah.
It's
not as good as...
It's a little bit international twos for me.
Don't tell them that. It's amazing listening to people go, and we really fucked up in 03. It's like,
you weren't even close.
Just like a famous Australian cricketer I won't name in under 16s, won the toss and said, use cunts can bat.
Which famous player is playing $1, $1.01 about who that was?
Very squinty eyes.
These guns can bat.
Heady in that circumstance.
Very fashionable Oakleys at the time in that year.
I can tell you what, $1, he wasn't looking him in the eye either. It's under 60s.
These guns can bat.
So punter 140 red off 120 balls, 121 balls. Travis Head 137 off 120, chasing to win a World Cup game in India against that
low-scoring game.
Against that attack. That's right, where nobody else comes close to that score. I think it's fairly clear that this is a higher skilled innings. Ponting didn't need to put something like that together. He did what he needed to do. So again, comparison thief of joy stuff. But but yeah, that's the level it's on. I mean, Travis Head has elevated himself to pure top tier superstar status in Australian and what should be global cricket. The world is his now. And it's very cool because he seems to be quite normal. A person.
He's just a knockabout guy from Adelaide that you can just talk to.
He was really humble in describing the catch that he took. I didn't think I was a chance either. He said something
I think he said something like Rohit Sharma was the unluckiest bloke in the world.
Come to me. That would even feel worse. For Rohit.
He's done him there, Heady, hasn't he?
So he's man of the match, player of the match, semi-final and final. They reserve him in the team. He misses half the tournament. I mean, it's the 100 in the World Test Championship final as well. Geez, a couple of really good knocks in the Ashes.
Given that he only started playing ODI, only started getting to the ODI side at this time last year after the T20 World Cup when Australia played against drunk England threes. Because England played that series much in the same way that Australia's about to play this 5 T20I series in India. And Travis Head came into the side there and he opened the batting. He scored like 150 or 160 at the MCG, I think it was. I don't know. I did not remember those games. I definitely didn't watch those games, but I heard about them online. So that's how he sort of came into the white ball setup, and then all of a sudden he just became the most important person in the white ball team. And then I mean that's one thing I think we did agree on. I think we did agree that you should pick Travis Head, given that he had fractured his hand. Was it fracture?
Mate,
it's still a huge call.
Just thinking about the enormity of his contribution to the side, it wasn't until he came back into the side that they started fucking purring anyway. Like they beat South Africa, didn't they? In that. They beat him in the T20 series, and then that's when he got injured, right? So
no, I think he played the first ODI.
They won that game. Marnus hit like 80, about to get 8. But as soon as he got injured,
he might have won the second game.
As soon as he got injured, Australia were getting relegated from the World Cup. Such was their form. And then as soon as he came back, straight into the team after a broken fucking hand. Against New Zealand, and pumps one of the fastest, most brutal hundreds you've ever seen.
Might have been the fastest 100 for Australian World Cup at that point.
The thing is, like, this is a thing we have in Australia. We make fun of this. Like, we're always talking about how, like, we just give people outsized, disproportionate respect for being, like, big and having a rig. And the guy just looks anything but. And
I think how good he could be if he was the size of Doss.
I'm sure if you looked at his numbers over the last year or two, it's like it's god tier Ponting stuff.
Yeah, probably.
And so we're all like, oh no, this guy's really good. And it's like we haven't accepted it yet.
That's because we call him the bin lid, which probably isn't helping.
It's not helping that his PR is bin lid and he's not doing anything to change it.
He started that. He started that.
This guy's on the bin lid, he's waving at people, he's the yellow wiggle going,
Didn't he take a fire from Sri Lanka and then he took a photo of himself putting his finger in ice?
Well, that's even better. And then he doesn't take himself too seriously either. And it was predicted in the lead up to facing the might of India. The only thing standing in their way was Heady.
In the game against South Africa, the semi-final, when Australia obviously had a red hot start with the ball, they had South Africa 4 for shit. But then was it Miller and was it Klaassen? Was it Miller? Yeah, Miller
in the semi.
Miller and Klaassen or Van Dussen?
It was Klaassen.
Put some runs on. Then Travis Head comes in, takes 2 and 2 and 2. All of a sudden, South Africa's campaign's just about over.
Yeah, it's just incredible, really.
For someone not massive, how does he do it?
That's right.
I don't get it.
What is it? Is it a rig? Is it?
Can't be.
I mean, there are parts of rigs we haven't seen, so you know what I mean? And we did hear about it, South Australia. Now, I just wanted to shout out the sound of silence in Modi Stadium.
Yeah.
Like, just remembering that, like, no one's drinking a beer there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I just think it's an interesting, like, sociological phenomenon. Like that silence was so palpable.
That's why I can sense the pain in the country.
Yeah, like in Australia, if we were losing in that manner, people would at least be drinking.
They'd be flogged.
Exactly. And I'm not saying this pejoratively. Like it just actually the sobriety of it, it actually increases the pain. Like it is a great ad for beer.
Here's what I thought as well, is that, I mean, obviously ODI cricket, it just goes for too long for people's general general
I haven't seen a
experience and
ball of
enjoyment
this
the
World
game.
Cup.
But I can't fight this feeling. Yeah. Just the ad from the highlights
exactly.
for the minis. But like when I was looking at the people in the stadium there, everyone packed in, right? And then they're just sitting in the sun. Like no one leaves their seats. I mean, we noticed this for the first time for the World Cup here, India, Pakistan. One of the great, the greatest sport experience I've ever been to in my entire life. And how no one was in the bar. Like everyone was sitting in their seats and actually watching the sport that they had paid ticket to come and see. Novel idea. Don't really get it myself. I don't really trust it. But that was what they did. And I'm looking at Modi Stadium there in Ahmedabad, and they're just sitting in the sun for like 8 hours, just completely absorbed by the cricket. Michael Vaughan did an interesting tweet. He was like, "Does any country love a sport like India like cricket?" And I don't.
Can't be.
I mean, Argentina and football, maybe Brazil football, maybe that. But that how deeply it is felt there, and like just to be sitting in the sun there for 8 hours, just watching this, breathing every single ball, intense.
How deep is your love? Yeah, man. And then after the game. Couldn't get an interview with an Indian player for love nor money, apart from the obligatory captain's interviews. Don't know what it is. You only talk when you win. You
know, to be fair, I've seen a lot of people say this, but Rahul Dravid, anytime India win, he never faces the media. But apparently, he did do the press comments when they've lost. So, fair fucks to him. Fair fucks that he faced the press.
Such a crass term, isn't it?
Fair fucks, mate.
Fair fucks to you. Oh, cheers.
I'll take anything at the moment. It's been 6 months.
Looking forward to talking to Alex Malcolm going into the kind of X's and O's of the win, you know, the anatomy of the victory on the night. And we may have one or two other interviews as well. If we shouted them out, yeah.
No, but people can see it in the title.
Oh, yeah, they'll know. They'll know, won't they?
Know.
Well, I just want to say, if you missed it first time, ticker tape parade. Get it going, or at least, at the very least, if it's not ticker tape, whatever that means. I equate it with like Alan Border on the back of some 1991 sports car with streamers being thrown at him.
Yeah. Or bog roll.
Just let us throw some toilet paper at the players. For goodness sakes.
Come on, grow up. Let us do it.
Must deliver. At least, you know, release them at Fed Square and the Opera House or wherever the fuck it is. You know,
let people get around them.
Yeah,
and then they want to get around us.
Yeah, bring the boys home.
Bring the boys home
from the T20.
Fuck the T20 off. Fuck it off.
Bring the boys home and let us get around them now while the going is good. If you're not careful, the AFL is going to start winning this media coverage, the media sentiment again with their question over whether it should be called opening round or round one or whatever the fuck it is. Okay, well, there's a little window here before some fucking Harley Reid shit comes in or something.
Good player.
You know, Jack Whiten's just started at the Rabbits. The rabbit, you know what I mean? There's all sorts of things these other codes can do.
Yeah.
To start taking over the...
At the same time, with the T20 World Cup 6 months away, if the boys are underprepared, I'm going to be upset.
Oh, of course.
They need to play as much T20 cricket as possible in the lead up to that. Okay?
I wonder if Travis Head can force his way into that side. Steve Smith opens the batting for them at the moment.
We're going to get into that series in a second. Should we go and... I just got some notes here.
Yeah.
Should we go and speak to our guests?
Yeah.
That we haven't decided just yet, but these interviews are brought to you by winning the inner battle.
Oh, indeed. And fuck, didn't we ever?
Didn't Watto look good?
Oh.
Like, doesn't having Ricky Ponting there, Matthew Hayden, Aaron Finch, and Shane Watson wearing their, ICC uniform. Thank you. Yeah. Doesn't that make you feel all sorts of safe?
Yeah.
Just the names around the World Cup. You know,
Yeah,
I feel
most of them.
I feel like when the players are there, like opposition players, and they see the greats commentating, they're thinking, oh yeah, lineage, lineage, and length. ShaneWatson.au is where you can get winning the inner battle. You can get it on ebook, audiobook, or paperback. Now, if you were going to get it read,
silverback. You can get
winning the inner battle on silverback.
There's a text I don't need to read now. Yeah, that's right. Now, what those people, are you releasing this in silverback? Because you should. No, I don't mean it in an animal cruelty way. It doesn't mean metaphorically.
Right.
Because it should be released in silverback after what we've seen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know the book has been helpful to people within the Aussie team. And it's gaining. Here we go. What have we got here? So who's saying this? Sorry, I actually have a piece.
How's the piece on it?
Well, thankfully, I've still got one. But Rachin Ravindra actually credited winning the inner battle with assisting him in his psychological preparation for this World Cup. Yeah,
getting knocked out in the semis.
He uses. It was just in a so harsh,
unnecessary as well.
His name sounds familiar now. He uses sports psychologists consistently. His go-to books are The Mamba Mentality by Kobe Bryant and Winning the Inner Battle by Shane Watson. So, again, it's working with guys at the very top level. What a breakout he had.
ShaneWatson.au to get Winning the Inner Battle, bringing the best version of you to cricket on paperback, audiobook, ebook, and paper and silverback. God damn it. Can't talk anymore. All right. Right now, well, at the moment, we think we've got Nathan Lyon and Alex Malcolm, so let's find out what happens right now.
So lucky to be joined by one of Australia's greatest ever cricketers, Nathan Lyon. Gaz, welcome back to The Great Cricketer.
Thanks for having us, lads.
We're trying to hit this World Cup win from every single angle, so Aussies in particular can just sit there and drink it in. Tell us, GOAT, where were you when it happened? How did you take it in? Are you like Peter Siddle and just wake up to the scores in the morning, or are you riding every ball?
No, well, obviously I'm in Perth at the moment, so the time zone's actually quite good here. Start at 4:30, so straight down to the pub with a couple of mates. Then I watched it. Fuck, my throat's gone in.
Yeah, upset. I'm emotional as well. It was a very emotional win.
Getting choked up. Yeah. Let's start that again. Obviously in Perth, so straight down the pub at 4:30. Good time zone to watch it, and ended up just watching it in bed, which was pretty amazing.
I started getting choked up when Cummo decided to bowl, Gaz, so I know exactly how you feel. Can you tell us about the correspondence that you've had with your mates? I know you're great mates with Starkey, for instance. It would have meant the world to him to win a second ODI title.
Yeah, bloody oath. I haven't had too much communication with the lads. I think they're on a celebration for a few days, and so they should be. But what I have had, they're all pretty stoked, and I know Starkey's trying to chase down Alyssa and how many World Cups compared to what she's done. But he's got a lot to do. But to go over there and win that over there, and with the squad that they took, was pretty fantastic, to be honest.
Gaz, Hugo's just mentioned the toss there before. So many of us just can't believe that Australia decided to bowl, that Cummins decided to bowl in that situation. Like, did you know that he had those balls in him to take that decision when basically everybody else was saying, you can't allow India with the guns that they have to bat first in front of that crowd?
No, I didn't think so. I thought they would have won the toss and batted, but hats off to Ronnie and the team there with coming up with the plan. Obviously, Pat would have had a fair few guys in his ear trying to suggest what to do. I know you're asking the spinner if I would have batted first. 100% I would have batted first, but looks like it's worked out the right way.
When Ash Agar said he pulled out, he just wasn't fit, I suppose. And then I believe you spoke to Ronnie Mac, the coach, and said, "Yeah, I'm good to go." What did Ronnie say to you?
I'm still waiting on a reply. I sent a message with when I saw Ash was no good, and this was me still during rehab, calf rehab, not playing a game since. And I just said, look, I'll be right, with a laughing face. But still waiting a reply on that question. But I think all in all, I think they made the right decision.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance. Guys, like, a lot of people in Australia, like lay people who aren't professional sports people, would look at the achievement of the Aussie side against that, like the entire tidal wave of the Indian nation, you know, with the size of the stadium, the eerie silence anytime the Aussies did something good, you know, the presence of a powerful prime minister, the suggestion of a tailored pitch, and you know, think that's just too much pressure. You know, the weight of that, the weight of the expectation of India, it just means Australia was going to be the bridesmaid at this wedding, you know, just a little party to the Indian kind of coronation. Like, from a pro cricketer's perspective, do you... does that just mean nothing to you after you've played for such a long period of time? Are you honestly able to compartmentalize that and go, no, it's just another game of cricket, I'm going to get in my bubble and play? Or do you think the boys used that to their advantage in some way?
Oh, I think there's a bit of both. I think the guys have played that much cricket, especially in India and IPLs and test matches and one day in T20 games over there. Like, you get used to the big crowd and the noise and all the circus that comes with it all. But at the end of the day, our job is to go out there and win games of cricket and play our role. So I feel like the guys would have taken it all in, but at the end of the day, they would have known what their role was throughout the whole team. So, there is a fair amount of circus when it comes to it, especially over there, which is all part of it, and which is all pretty good though.
The final was obviously at Modi Stadium there in Ahmedabad, Gaz, where you played the fourth test match at the Border Gavaskar. I mean, what was it like playing in front of 60,000 fans there that day?
60,000. I reckon it would have been about 6. I think they actually played on the same wicket. Actually, that test match wicket was pretty flat and looked like it would have just been about the right time to start taking a bit of spin and a bit up and down. So, 130,000 one game to 6,000 the other game. It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Can you give us an insight? Like, I know you obviously weren't there at the final, but like, when the Australian team wins a major match, you know, like it's the zenith type of victory, like what does that circuit look like? You know, like, do you have any intel on, you know, Travis wearing a 2XU running cap and the dirtiest speed dealers you've ever seen? Like, what joke is that? What does Hetty mean when he's doing this? You know, like after he knocks over Klaassen and scores 100 in the final. Like, can you just take us into some of the principles behind the circuit, or is that just sacred stuff that can't be repeated?
No, well, I'm not inside that group at the moment to understand what all the suggestions mean, but knowing the Australian cricket team, and when you win a big series like that, like the Ashes, in my eyes, you get 24 hours to 48 hours to do whatever you like, and that's the way it should be, I think.
So are you saying that you're fit and ready to go for the 5 T20 starting in about 8 minutes' time over there?
No, I won't be going there.
Guys, we're just a couple of. I mean, obviously, you know, Pez and I played top level cricket as well, as we all did.
Sort of the Sydney competition.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, at our core, we're just fans of the team, and this is our week. You know, just to breathe it all in. And I guess what I'm asking is, would the team, and I include yourself in this, be aware of like the moments that you've given the fans in Australia? Like, obviously, you know, winning the World Test Championship, a great Ashes series, which was so much fun from both perspectives, I suppose, you know, obviously retaining it and also just, you know, all the moments involved and the memes and whatnot. And then winning this World Cup is the team aware of like just the moments that you've given the fans in Australia?
Yeah, well, probably I wasn't aware of the enormity of it. Only when I'd come back from the Ashes pretty early, a lot earlier than what I'd hoped for.
Yeah.
And to hobble around on my crutches back, 18 weeks ago now, to see the respect that the Australian cricket team has. But watching this World Cup as purely as a fan, it's been quite amazing to see the impact that the team's able to have on the Australian public, which is amazing. And no doubt they would have seen all the love and support that from the whole of Australia, especially like the other night. It was pretty amazing.
Would you be in support of a ticker tape parade?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, the boys would love that, so I reckon I'm all for it.
Are you happy to drive one of the Hiluxes that we've been talking about?
No, I won't be there, but I reckon they should. I reckon they probably should do one in every state.
Yeah, I agree. Just a question that is probably a fair one to you. A lot of people think that it was always going to be extremely difficult to knock over Virat Kohli. He's a legend of the game. The key to the Indian victory probably sat with him. But all you got to do is kind of bowl that sort of fourth channel, right? Like fourth stump channel, fifth stump channel, and just kind of tuck him up a bit. And
gets a better hit, doesn't he?
Yeah, just a better hit, and that's all it takes. He looked at the wicket for a long time after he got out as well, I felt.
Yeah, look, I don't really know where to bowl to Virat.
Yeah, well, it looks like the BCCI scrambled that answer, Gaz, which is fair enough, probably saves your career. Anything else, he goes? Thanks so much for joining us, Gaz. We know you're on holiday in Perth at the moment with like a rare week off of the cricket circus, so really appreciate you giving us the time and speaking to the Aussies as we bask in this one-day World Cup victory. We are going to see you through the summer. I think it's going to be a pretty successful one for Australia, and we'll catch up with you then, mate.
Too easy. Thanks, guys.
Always great to be sat here with the king of cricket X's and O's in Australia. I hope you don't mind me defining you that way, but like there are people listening to this show, Alex Malcolm from Crick Info, which is how I refer to you off air as well, who just want to bask in this win.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're trying to hit it from as many angles as possible. This is a section where we just want to actually get into the X's and O's of the game itself, a little bit of the lead in, tactics, strategies, all that kind of gear before we get into an hour and a half on the Sheffield Shield and the PM's 11. But firstly, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I feel a big, heavy burden on my shoulders as to try and live up to that billing. But yeah, it was an amazing game of cricket.
Sam Billings. Okay, so the anatomy of a victory, Alex Malcolm. I want to start with fielding and this idea of energy in the ring, because energy in the ring. Tell me if you think differently. To me, is a throwback. Like that's like 90s, early 2000s stuff. Australia's got a baseball coach. I feel like the game has moved on so much to the point where bigger bats have rendered grounds smaller. Grounds are smaller anyway. And it's been a very long time since I've seen a fucking ring do anything in ODI cricket because the ball just absolutely powers through. Australia offered, no team turns up keen to field badly. But somehow Australia turned something on in the semi-finals and then the finals where stuff started getting stopped. David Warner started being put into hot spots. He hasn't fielded anywhere other than mid-off with his digits wrapped up for about 10 years. Can you run us through how Australia's fielding was able to make such a difference?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And you're right in that the inner ring has been rendered completely irrelevant in short form cricket for quite a long time, just purely because, as you say, the power of the bats and the power of the ball striking. You compare it to the old Robolinda videos you see of punter from backward point or whatever. Guys are bunting balls and they're not even getting to the circle. Fielding coaches and players talk a lot about attitude. I actually think it's about physical movement and your ability to move and be healthy. I think the Australian guys are in really good shape. Fitness-wise, athleticism-wise, they're as good as anyone in the world, and they look after themselves really well. And as a result, guys were feeling good. They were up for it. And Warner and Marnus Labuschagne obviously felt like that was a way to get themselves into the game. Labuschagne, it's really interesting listening to him after the game talking about the fact that he might have been dropped. He didn't know until 10 p.m. the night before if he was going to play. And he was literally sitting there thinking, how can I influence the game as a sub fielder? And that is attitude. So that's old school Australia. That's what Australian cricket, in some ways, its success has been built on, is that attitude and belief that you can influence the game when you are not batting and bowling, and that as a pack you can hunt and make key saves that are only going to save 1 or 2 runs here or there, but it's going to send a message back to the opposition. Okay, I've got to hit this ball much harder to beat that guy at cover point, to beat that guy at backward point. It forces different risks, and that changes the mindset of a batter, puts pressure on the opposition, and as a result, mistakes happen. I think the slower surface too probably helped in some ways, but yeah, it was a masterful display of fielding from Australia.
It wasn't something you saw India do necessarily, and even when Travis Head saves that ball, the second ball of the day, is that right, on the boundary, so there's already a deliberate field position there, it curtails the momentum of 120,000, 90,000, 80,000, 130,000, whatever, take your pick, whatever, flicks your switch. Again, fielding was just able to sort of cease India's ability to get a roll on. I thought it was. I can't remember the ring making a difference in cricket for like 15 years.
I just noticed they started to walk in with the bowler.
And that's the other thing.
Come on, Australia, walking in with the bowler.
Walking in with the bowler, Australia.
Let's take our catches. You mentioned Marnus before. Marnus versus Marcus was a big discussion point. I'm going to use Pez's language, which I think is a great word for it, and ceiling. And I think we were talking beforehand about Australia having a higher ceiling, playing their best game, and that probably includes Marcus Stoinis. And I've already said on this show that I have to apologise for all the things that I've got wrong in my life. It was actually quite a long list. It's going to be a long show. But where did you have in that conversation between Marnus Labuschagne and Marcus Stoinis before the final specifically? Where were you sitting with that?
Exactly where you sat, in terms of if Australia thinks it's going to play its perfect game and back end an innings the way that it wants to and post 350 plus, then Stoinis at 7 is how you want to set it up. So
even though he hasn't scored a 50 in 4 years and all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because, as you say, the higher ceiling, the more ability to clear the fence, all of those things. But with the way the surface was going to present itself, and the nature of India's new ball bowling, there was always going to be the threat that Australia's big three at the top, who were doing so much damage, could get taken out. And then you do need the 2 safety valves, and it turns out they needed both those safety valves. So it made sense in a lower scoring game. Marnus had already scored a really important 70 on the same surface against England. So he'd proven himself in that regard, and obviously he's the better player of spin out of the two between Labuschagne and Stoinis, and his fielding as well. And Stoinis' bowling, the longer the tournament went, it was less required because Maxwell had been so good, so bankable with his 10 overs, and Head had obviously provided some really good bowling options as well. Even though India is so right-hand heavy and such a good team against off-spin, they still back their guys in, and so they landed that way. Full credit to the Australian selector. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it. It has been floating around. They literally did a due diligence trip to Modi Stadium at like 8 or 9 or 10 p.m. the night before to check how much dew was going to come in and whether it was going to be a factor. And they didn't pick the team until after they'd made that trip.
Wow. To
work out, okay, this is how we're going to do it, and we'll play this way. So it was only after that Labuschagne got the nod. So he didn't know till 10 p.m. the night before.
Wow.
I want to ask about that and the dew coming in. Where did people land on that? Did it come in deluxe or come in?
It can't just come in.
No. The reason I ask is because like whether nefariously, legally, through ICC loopholes or otherwise, like if we accept the pitch was tailored to Team India's advantage, with Team India's advantage in mind, and it didn't just organically appear, as Stuart Broad described as day 4 of a test match, are we free to say that the tailoring of that particular pitch was a miscalculation from India? Or is it fairer to say that, because India would have made that based on their observations of their strengths, Australia's strengths, weaknesses, etc., cricket, etc., or is it fairer to say that India just underestimated the bin lid?
I think the former. I think they made an error. Rohit Sharma said he would have batted first if he won the toss, which blew me away. That was more of a surprise actually to me than Pat Cummins saying they would bowl first. Now, I know a lot of people were shocked by the fact that Cummins decided to bowl, runs on the board in a final, all that stuff. But I've got to give credit to my colleague Sid Monger, who wrote a phenomenal tactics preview piece, and he basically predicted how the final would turn out.
Wow, that's awesome.
And he said explicitly, runs on the board are now no longer anything other than a cliche, because the last 3 World Cup finals, the team batting first had not won. The last 4 T20 World Cup finals, the team batting second had won, and the last 2 IPL finals at that stadium, the team batting second had won, and then 3 of the 4 games in the World Cup so far, up until the final, had been won by the team batting second. Clearly at Ahmedabad, even if the dew didn't come in, the surface got a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, and you could see that. Balls weren't gripping. Jasprit Bumrah, apart from the one that got Steve Smith out, Jasprit Bumrah's slow ball didn't really grip or sit in the surface.
No.
Jadeja only got a couple to rag and actually hold. So clearly it was a miscalculation. They clearly got that wrong, that they didn't foresee that the surface would get quicker. They thought it was going to get slower, which was a bad misread on their part. And I got to say, I don't understand why, accusations aside and all that, why you'd even want a slower surface. Like India's raw talent and their lineup, man for man, why you wouldn't just roll out a flatty and just go, we'll beat you on this.
Yeah.
Well, there must be a reason for that, though, right? Because it was, I mean, okay, I know you're far too professional to say this, but it's fairly clear that it's tailored. And I'm just trying to get into the minds of the Indian, powers that be around that. I mean, is it that they go, look, if we for some reason have to bowl first, then at least we're giving Jadeja and Kuldeep something to work with. I just don't like. I'm just trying to get my because I agree with you. If you just have a pristine white wicket, I don't know how Australia goes with India in the form that they're in. You just take so many things out of the game and just let the stars shine, and you also bring the crowd into it as well with the flurry of boundaries and sixes that would be inevitable. It's difficult to see. I can only guess that they did not expect Cummins to have the balls to bowl first, basically.
I think it's the dual threats on both sides, right? So it's to nullify the big 3 quicks, because everybody in the world knew that the game was on their shoulders. If they can blow away Australia's India's top order, if that's Stark, Cummins and Hazelwood, then they're into the game. And on the flip side of that, if Jadeja and Kuldeep have big days, then Australia's middle order are absolutely no chance of posting anything competitive or chasing anything competitive. So I think that's the reasoning. But in a funny way, they've by batting first, they've kind of nullified their 2 spinners. But B, the slower and more grippy the surface, the more Australia's taller bowlers can actually bash the wicket and be harder to hit square. Whereas India's guys are much shorter. They bowl much fuller length. They rely on swing and sideways movement to create damage. Apart from Bumrah, Shami and Siraj aren't big slow ball bouncer guys. It's not a huge part of their armoury. They have it in there, but they're not as damaging as Cummins from 6'3" or 6'4", and
they took Siraj out of the game.
Exactly, and the ball just slid on. So it's a baffling thing that they've done, and it is what it is.
Fucker sucker ding dong.
It is what it is.
Just thinking about like where this sits in terms of Australia's performance, because so much of it is India were the best team, and they still are the best team. They play the final today. India would be favourites, and a lot of people have been sort of upset almost that you would have seen the team of the tournament. There was 6 Indians in it, and it's like, they probably were 6 of the best players in the World Cup, So like, where does it? And then think about the final, Australia 47-3, was it? And that point, like, rocking. Australia were rocking, and they've won the game by 6 wickets in the end, and in a cakewalk, not just a walk, a cakewalk. So where do you think it sits in terms of Australian cricket wins? Maybe even in your lifetime.
Oh, it's the best. I don't think people in Australia truly appreciate what they've achieved on Sunday night. I went and got my coffee on Monday morning, and
I got my coffee.
I went and got my cock out and sort of walking down the street and waving it around,
Then I got a coffee.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, that's all right.
You can do your thing.
Honestly, went to the coffee shop and no one, it wasn't any genuine excitement. I couldn't hear anyone talking about the cricket.
No.
The cafe manager, who is a cricket fan, just said to me, "Good win, mate." And that was it. Yeah. Who's going to get taken number 1 in the draft tonight? Like that's kind of in my lifetime, best by a mile. I think objectively, it's the best World Cup win Australia's had of the 6. Just the sheer challenge of that. I know they've won a World Cup. Australia's won a World Cup in India previously, but it was 1987. It was a different time. They played against England. They didn't even have to play. Oh, they played the host nation and beat them. But the challenge of beating that team there in that moment on that stage at that time, the way that team has been playing, it's a monumental achievement, and I think it ranks among the great achievements in Australian sport, not just Australian cricket.
Can I just couple that in with like what it means for this team in that they won the World Test Championship, they retained the Ashes. I think for both of those things, retaining the Ashes is like, look, retaining the Ashes is good. They were 2-0 up, but whatever. It's still good. World Test Championship, you're beating India in England. They're probably favourites anyway. So I think for the year and this team, people were like, it's still good, but then this win almost elevates those other things as well. Like, look what they've done this year. Then we're talking about they took a game off India in a test match, which to be fair, these things are good still. But do you know what I mean? It elevates the entire year. We're now talking about solidifying the bowlers into their greats, in their legacy themselves. Cummins, like, genius captain. Look what he's done. Like, this one win has elevated all the others as well.
I think so. I think even hardcore cricket fans are starting to realise that. I had a couple of text messages last night just going, "Geez, these guys have won a lot." Yeah. Welcome. They've literally won a World T20 in the UAE when they had no right to win it and no one expected them to win it. They've won a World Test Championship and a World Cup within the space of 2 years. That is a lifetime of achievements for any other cricket team anywhere in the world. And half of the guys have already won an ODI World Cup. If you think about the way that the rest of the world looks at other teams and other great players that have achieved things, like Dhoni being the 2011 World Cup winning captain, Owen Morgan 2019, those guys are gods in their communities or in their countries for what they've achieved as one-off events. This team's won 4 world titles. The core of it have won 4 world titles in the space of 8 years. That is a remarkable achievement, and 3 of those have come away from home, and 2 of those white ball titles have been won in conditions that are just vastly different to what you would get at home, and conditions that no one believes they should be ultra competitive in. It's an incredible achievement for a group that has basically stayed together for most of that time. They deserve so much credit for that.
I'm about to run through a fucking brick wall here.
Hey, me too. Just to couch that, look, this is from Patrick Matheson on Patreon. He says, "Boys, if you want to get technical, England won the 2020 T20 World Cup due to COVID, got delayed. We won the 2021 T20 World Cup. So we hold the latest World Test Championship, ODI World Cup, T20 World Cup, plus Women's ODI World Cup, T20 World Cup, and Con Games. In layman's terms, suck a fuck a ding dong." Do you think the team might suffer? Do you think people's let's call it like it's not so much entitlement or desensitization to success might suffer due to the success of their forebears? We were talking earlier on the show that like a lot of people regarding or observing this Australian victory as a mere continuation of Australia's success across all of cricket. But the fact is, there's been a massive gap between Australia's great teams and then having a team now that is able to start succeeding again. I mean, really, from 2006-07 through to Cummins taking over the side, Australia have only fleetingly been at the top of world cricket across any format. Okay, 2015 World Cup aside, to be fair, that's no small thing either. But really, it's not been until now that the team has started winning consecutive things in different formats. And I think it's worth pointing out that they're a very, very different team. This is a re-energisation of Australian cricket rather than any kind of continuation. Yeah, that's right. There's only a couple of guys who played with Ponting, and that was at the very start when Rick was at the very end. There was a period there. Australia were very uncompetitive in World Cups and world events. 2011, they got smacked in a quarterfinal in India. 13, they were horrible in that Champions Trophy. 2014 and 2016, they sent two of the worst T20 teams. There's all sorts of T20 tournaments taking place that I didn't even know existed. Correct. They were very, very poor during all of that time, and so the core of this group has been together basically since 2015, and there's been some blips along the way, of course, but I think the attack, it's been built around the attack. Those three guys to be the three quicks, to play across all three forms and be the core of those titles across all three forms is remarkable. And then you've got two great spinners in the white ball and the red ball. So you've got the second best test spinner Australia's produced in the red ball, holding down that spot in Nathan Lyon. And then Adam Zampa, he's truly underappreciated for what he's done in both the T20 World Cup title in the UAE, where I thought he was player of the tournament. He probably should have been. Well, Warner said that too. And here in this one, he's held them together. Yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal. First bowler in history to take 3 wickets in 5 consecutive games at a World Cup. Just did it under pressure time and again, coming in sick and injured and being the lone spinner in an Indian World Cup. A remarkable achievement. So you can, once you've got the pillar of that attack, and you think about the tropes of, attacks win trophies at domestic level or international level, that's the foundation. And then the batting group has got the two pillars, the opener and the number 3-4 and Steve Smith, and Warner's been phenomenal across all forms as well. But then they've just been able to add in pieces where they've needed to. Head's become a match winner across all three forms. Marnus has found a way to be an important cog across various forms. Glenn Maxwell has been unbelievable. Mitch Marsh has been unbelievable. Stoinis played his part in the World T20 title a couple of years ago. They've found a way. It's incredible. X's and O's stuff, middle overs in this game, like the contrast between both teams. So like pre-game, there is literally nothing statistical or psychological to suggest Australia could match India in this phase of the game. And then both of them entered the middle overs phase as 3 wickets down. Before the game, if you just ask anybody, there's no doubt people are going to be backing Virat Kohli, KL Rahul to manage the middle overs matchups to our pace and our spin over the top of Travis Head and Marnus Labuschagne taking on India's attack and India's spinners. Do you think the deck completely bridged that gap? Do you think that there's valid cricketing criticism for the way Virat and KL Rahul took on those middle overs? Because I note there's a lot of people saying that they could have been braver. Strikes me as something very easy to say in retrospect. Was Jadeja and Kuldeep unders? Was it all of the above? Was it just an unexpected middle overs masterclass from the bin lid? I do think the surface and the conditions certainly helped. Yep. They definitely hindered India, and they certainly helped Australia. I think Cummins' performance in those middle overs, particularly with the ball, I thought he stood up so massively, so well, as he always does when needed, right? And I think the slower the service actually in white ball cricket, the better he bowls. Just because
that's off-speed slow ball cutter. He's bowled more of those than any other bowler in the tournament. And his trajectory, you talk to guys who face him in white ball cricket, they talk about facing him and Hazelwood. I've spoken to a couple of people about this. And on a really true surface, a true Indian IPL surface, Indian Premier League surface, where it skids on nicely under lights, because of Cummins' trajectory, the lengths that he hits, he's a bit shorter than Hazelwood, and it just sits up and guys can get under him and hit him wherever they like. They can just pick up length.
Yeah.
And his slow ball does not grip in the surface at all, whereas Hazelwood actually, what's been described to me as sort of penetrating through the surface. He can just hit the top of the stumps from a difficult length to drive, and you can't hit him off that length, and that makes him harder. But the slower the surface, because of Pat's trajectory, guys cannot hit that ball just coming off at different speeds. And he just hit the wicket so hard. He looked up for it from ball one. He was running in with so much more energy than we'd seen at other times during the tournament, with the exception actually of that spell he bowled, which kind of turned their fate against Sri Lanka. And then he just managed the bowling changes really well and was able to get through 4 overs of Marsh and Head, which were really important. It took a bit of pressure off Maxwell, who probably didn't have his greatest day with the ball, and India were able to target him a little bit. They managed that area really well. I think KL Rahul probably could have rotated a little bit better. I don't know about it was hard for them to find boundaries, but he potentially could have rotated a little bit better and struck maybe at 80 rather than 60. There's another 10, 15, 20 runs that means Australia's chasing 260, 270 as opposed to 240. That you're really nitpicking there. And then the surface at night, Travis Head just played amazingly well, and he hit more boundaries himself than India did in total.
Yeah.
He was able to keep finding the boundary. I think they got a little bit full, their paces to him, and then he kind of took out Kuldeep, which was really important. As a sort of left arm wrist spinner for a left-hander, it's a little bit harder for them to bowl as opposed to bowling to the right-handed Marnus, because as soon as they get a bit straighter, it's the stock ball rather than the wrong, and he can slog sweep him, and he did so really well. So I think it's a combination of all those things, and that's why it worked out how it did.
So they tailored their own deck and they didn't know how to use it. Yeah. Your words, not mine, Peter.
What did you make of the treatment, inverted commas, or the usage, perhaps a better term, of Siraj, who his first 3 overs went for 16, and then he didn't come on again until the 36th over, where he basically had to bowl because he had 7 overs left, and then you have to come in with 14 overs left to complete your spell. And they opened the bowling with Shami instead of him, who, to be fair, looked very dangerous in the first couple of overs. He got 1 wicket with a half tracker, didn't he? But apart from that, nothing really doing. And they seem to be basically a bowler down, despite him being fit.
Yeah, I suspect they would have had conversation. I don't know this for a fact, but I'd be shocked if they didn't talk about Ashwin and V Siraj at the selection table in the lead up. Yeah, and so because they know Australia are going to match up pretty well to Siraj, and Shami was the obvious with the new ball to Australia's left-handers. He's got such a good record coming around the wicket, and so that was really the reason.
He didn't open the bowling at any point in the World Cup, like Shami. They just completely threw that out the window, then made Siraj bowl grunt overs from 16 overs onwards on a slow deck that they tailored in. It's pretty... Like if you go Siraj versus Ashwin in that situation, why don't you just bring Ashwin on the middle overs? Well, and he can do something with the bat.
Yeah,
I think if Hardik was playing, Ashwin would have played.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
But if you think back to Chennai, the first game of the tournament, slow surface, they had Ashwin pegged from a mile out for that one, and he played a big role. And this surface was basically supposed to be very similar to Chennai, and I just think they maybe got to the crunch and thought, no, we've got to reward the guy that's played the whole tournament, and we can't pull Ashwin off the bench for a one-off. And unfortunately didn't work out for him. And they were, Rohit Sharma was forced into a situation where he had to take wickets up front. 240 was never enough if it was ever going to quicken up. And then having not quite done enough damage, they had a bit of bad luck. I mean, Shami could have had head out a number of times. Having not quite done enough damage, they had to turn to spin for as long as they could, and that didn't work either. And so they were left with a situation where Siraj had to bowl.
Right, yeah.
Hey, thanks for the X's and O's, Alex Malcolm. Just three guys speaking in low tones about the ins and outs of the game.
What about the circuit, though? How good are the photos of the circuit?
That's right. That's right. What about Xander's receipts?
Yeah, the receipts. Yeah, I'm sure our names are on a couple of those.
I told him to put them on.
Yeah. The bin lids speed dealers 2XU running cap
2XU
photos
is
is about as good as it gets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of Aussies listening to this just hopefully just drinking it in, just three blokes going, and wasn't this good when we did this?
It was a masterclass.
And what about this thing that no one expected, where in fact it was incredible?
Yeah, the selectors, I was like,
that's
backroom
right.
stuff,
And India made a
backroom
mistake
stuff.
there because they actually weren't aware of how good we are. And aren't we
Drinking
good?
in Australia.
And what kind of good are we?
Yeah. Is this the best thing anyone's ever seen ever?
Yeah, that's right.
There needs to be a mural somewhere in some major city in Australia of Travis Head with speed dealers on, 2XU hat, doing the wiggles.
100%.
And that needs to be somewhere prolific.
Just it's probably a shout to people who are finding all this very nauseating and obnoxious, just as I would if another team won.
Well, I wouldn't be listening. I would not be listening.
Yeah. Well, they're not listening, so what's the point? Fuck them. No, we'll be back with us, more sort of balanced stuff from next week. But you got to allow it. You got to allow it. Alex Malcolm, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much to our guests or thank you very much to me for throwing back to myself after that moment.
Could be anything.
Thank you very much to the silverback gorilla that we had in the studio.
You can get it in silverback.
Mate, if there was a silverback in here, that'd be one of the scariest things possible.
Yeah, okay. Once again,
Here we go.
King Kong versus Godzilla. Who you got? Who do you want running at your least? How many times do I have to ask this?
You've been asking me that twice a day for a week.
Oh, I saw it.
So you're saying you prefer Godzilla?
Oh, okay. Let's be clear. Yeah, the last person I want to fight is King Kong.
Okay.
Like if I have a choice, King Kong versus Godzilla. I saw a video and you got that horrible For You tab on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
And I have to go on that at times because I think that's where they serve you the shit you actually want to read from the people you follow. All your good follows are on there and all your shit ones are on the following one. Right. Anyway, and so from time to time you see the most heinous things. And one of them was two silverbacks in a zoo, grainy footage, fighting, like throwing punches, like haymakers at each other. And the sheer velocity and weight behind the punches, mate, you do not want to be on the end of that. Now, Godzilla, lizard. Dinosaurs, admittedly lizards. It's time to freshen the palate of this show, right? Let's just freshen. There's a lot of cricket talk. This is the sort of shit people are talking about. Hey, let us know in the comments. Godzilla, King Kong, where are we at?
Now, look, Godzilla, lizard.
Anyway, yeah, that's just a palate cleanser.
Do you ever get frustrated, Pez, that you can't watch Godzilla versus King Kong?
Fucking oath I do. Is that not clear?
And certain live sports events because they aren't being televised in your country? With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country that is showing that sports event or indeed Kong versus Godzilla, which, where are we looking at? Tokyo? We're looking at for that? A Japanese city?
Yeah, probably.
King Kong did New York, didn't he?
Yeah, famously.
But Godzilla did the Japanese.
Japan, well, yeah.
Something to think about.
Godzilla away.
If you want to watch Godzilla away, use NordVPN and you won't miss a single bit of the action. Being on the brink of a global recession and the world being a little bit crazy at the moment, I need to cut back on my spending and save some money, Pezza, while protecting myself online. With NordVPN, that helps me save money as well as protect me from cybercrime. I change my virtual location and sign up for a subscription service or services via other countries and pay a cheaper price, e.g. signing up to Netflix while virtually being in other places in the world is much cheaper than, say, the US or indeed the UK. Also, I can book flights and holidays via another country and pay less, so NordVPN, Pezza, essentially pays for itself.
Mate, you know what I would use NordVPN for right now if I had time and didn't want to be subject to an investigation? Is I would like to see what Star Sports cricket is showing now. Like, do they and let us know in India if you can. But or I could just use NordVPN and look myself.
You could,
but has it reverted to just India winning white ball games against Australia? Because that's basically what's on when they're not actually playing cricket or a World Cup final.
Well, they won't need any highlights because they can just see what's going to happen on Thursday in the 5-match series. You can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to the custom URL through the episode show notes. I can tell you to right now, if you want to listen up, it's nordvpn.com/TGC. You could have figured that one out for yourself. nordvpn.com/TGC to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plus 4 months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. nordvpn.com/what, Pezza?
TGC.
Correct. India v Australia T20 Series. There are 5 matches being played in 10 days. Put it in the bin! The matches are on Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, Friday and Sunday. The last game is December 3 in Bangalore, or indeed Bengaluru. Suryakumar Yadav is the captain for India. Hardik Pandya might have been the captain, I suppose, had he been fit, but of course he has done his ankle and is still cooked. Gaikwad is the vice-captain for the first 3 games before Shreyas Iyer comes back for the last 2 games. Sky, Ishan Kishan and Krishna are the only players that are playing the full series that were also in the World Cup. Aksar Patel, who missed the World Cup, he had a quad strain, as you might recall, Pezza. He's also back. So India's squad is Sky, Rinku Singh, Ravi Bishnoi, Gaikwad, Jatish Sharma, Arshdeep Singh, Ishan Kishan, Washington Sundar, friend of the show, Pradesh Krishna, Jaiswal, Aksar Patel, Avesh Khan, Tilak Varma, Shivam Dubey, Mukesh Kumar, and then Shreyas Iyer for the last 2 games. So that's their squad. Many of those people will recognise it from the I guess like India's B team, but also those superstars from the IPL. From an Australian perspective, Matthew Wade's the captain, as discussed previously. David Warner, Travis Head, Steve Smith, Glenn Maxwell, Matt Short, Marcus Stoinis, Tim David, Josh Inglis, Jason Berendorf, Saba, Nathan Ellis, Spencer Johnson, Zorba, and Tanvir Sangha. That means Cummins, Stark, and Hazelwood, Marsh, and Green are all being rested. They will be available to play in the next week's Shield game if they want to do that. Though I'm going to put that in the wouldn't have thought so category. Though what is interesting, Pezza, about Marsh and Green, because at the moment Mitchell Marsh is Australia's number 6 in the Test setup, and Cameron Green is the 12th man at the moment. Well, that's what it was the last Test match. So things can happen. Andrew McDonald is going to fly home. Andrei Borovic is the assistant coach. He's going to look after the team for the series. So Michael Di Venuto took the reins in the South African series just before the World Cup when McDonald also took a break there. But Di Venuto is also going to rest. So Andrei Borovic is going to be the coach of the side. So that's what's happening. I'm going to tell you right now, for people who might be expecting it or might not, we are not going to be covering that series as we have a whole bunch of things to get ready for the Australian summer ahead, which starts in a couple of weeks' time. Also preparing for our live tour around the country, as well as just some mental freshness after recording nearly every day for the last 2 months. And before that, the Ashes, and before that, the IPL, and before that, the Border Gavaskar series, and before that, the last summer. So, always things happening.
Before that, the T20 World Cup.
Indeed. Yeah, fucking hell, I forgot about that. So we're just going to cool our jets by not covering this meaningless 5 T20I series. Just coming up, of course, around the corner is the Australia-Pakistan Test Series, which starts on December 14. The first test is in Perth at Optus Stadium there. So Mohammad Hafiz is the new coach of the team and team director of Pakistan. He played for Pakistan just even as recently as 2 years ago. Mickey Arthur had done both roles previously. He's obviously been let go. Hafiz has no coaching experience. He'll do the Australian tour, and then Pakistan go to New Zealand in January for 5 T20s. Babar Azam has resigned as captain from Pakistan, so Shan, from the Test side anyway, Test and ODI and T20. Bubba was captain of all those, wasn't he? So Babar Azam has resigned from captain against all formats. Shan Masood is the Test captain now. Shaheen Afridi is the new T20 captain. And ODI cricket doesn't exist anymore. Haris Rauf is out of the Pakistan Test squad. Wahab Riaz, who is the new chief selector, after a whole bunch of changes in Pakistan cricket generally, as you can notice here. He's come out and he's hammered Haris Rauf, who's apparently not wanting to play in the Test Series. This is via Danielle Rasool, via ESPN Cricket Info. We spoke to Haris Rauf for this tour, Wahab said. When we spoke to him 2 days ago, he gave his consent to play Test cricket for Pakistan, but last night he changed his mind and now he doesn't want to be part of this Test Series. I'm revealing this because we should be honest with officials, teammates and the public. We spoke to Haris and he was worried about his body and fitness as well as his workload. Mohammad Hafiz, the new coach, and I sat with him and tried to facilitate him in every way. We told him even if he didn't perform well there, we would accept it. Our physio spoke to him and said he wouldn't expect any issue or injury. Of course, there's fatigue, but we were sure we would have managed that very well. But he pulled out at the last moment and he made himself unavailable. I think this will hurt Pakistan cricket. ESPN Cricinfo understands that Ralph views his exchange with Wahab very differently. A source close to the player revealed that Ralph had never committed to playing the test matches in Australia and confirmed his non-availability the previous nights. He told Wahab he hadn't played much red ball cricket in the build-up and wanted to work on his white ball game as well as his fitness. This all bodes pretty well, Pezza, for a fascinating test match summer of cricket in Australia, given that Naseem Shah is also out of that series, and so Haris Rauf is now not available for that as well. So it's all looking a bit of a basket case for the test match summer. But, runs.
Yeah, I think I recall last year, like, Travis Head really upset he didn't get a 300 and said you don't get those opportunities very often. I was like, I don't know about that, brother.
5 tests against Pakistan and then the West Indies coming up for Australia this summer.
3 Pakistan, 2 West Indies.
That's right.
Yeah, all good. Century montages, drink it in. I hope there's no bushfires this summer.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's just enjoy a couple of montages and look forward to the next thing.
Do you want to do the WBBL or the Sheffield Shield next?
WBBL.
All right. People would have seen this, but Meg Lanning has taken an indefinite break from the WBBL. This is less than 2 weeks after, of course, she announced the retirement from international cricket. Lanning sat out Melbourne Stars' 15-run win over Brisbane Heat at the Junction Oval in Melbourne on Sunday due to personal reasons. With only 2 games left and the Stars to miss making the finals, Lanning's immediate future in the sport is uncertain. This is a coach from Jonathan Batty, the Stars coach. She's taken a few days out for some personal reasons, he told Channel 7. We're reassured she's all okay, which is the most important thing, but we're giving her that time and space and respecting her privacy in what she needs to do. We're taking it on a game-by-game basis at the moment, and we'll give her all the time she needs to make the decision. But she's definitely out for the next couple of games. There's only 2 games left for every WBBL team except for Adelaide and Sydney Thunder, who I think playing today. So she may not play the rest of the season. So I suppose this feeds into what we were talking about last week. And look, I suppose Jonathan Batty, the coach of the Melbourne Stars, has said it best. The most important thing is that she's okay, and they've been reassured that she is okay. But quite clearly, there's some things going on that privacy has been respected, and I guess from us here, then we wish her the absolute best.
Totally, yeah. You just want the best of health for Meg Lanning and whatever space she needs to get better.
Yeah. So to that end, just giving an update on what's happening with the WBBL. As I said, there's 2 games left for everyone, and Adelaide and Sydney Thunder, who played today, have got 3 games left. So the Brisbane Heat have lost to both Melbourne teams, who were last and second last, to put them 4th in the table with 2 games left, having played 1 game more than the Strikers and Thunder. So the Heat now are 4th, Perth are top, Adelaide are equal with Perth on the same amount of points with a game in hand. Sydney Thunder are 1 point less. So whoever wins that game is going to be top. And then the 2 Melbourne teams are last. Sydney had a tough loss and are 6th. Hobart are 5th, and then the rest of the rest. So that's what's happening with the WBBL. I suppose actually the highlight of the week has been Aaron Burns' catch that you might have seen in North Sydney Oval. And then it's
quite a reel she's got there.
Quite a reel. Instagram reel. Be Real. What happened to Be Real? That was a real moment in time, wasn't it? The Sheffield Shield. I'll give you a rundown of the last couple of games. Tasmania beat New South Wales by an innings and 1 run, starting a new run of losses for the New South Wales side. Hundreds for Jake Doran, Bo Webster, slug. And Brad Hope batting at 5, 6 and 7 for Tasmania. Ollie Davies hit 50s in each innings for New South Wales after his 100 against WA in the last game. So Tassie now top of the table. Scott Boland took 8 wickets for Victoria to help beat Queensland at the MCG. He took 4 for 47 and 4 for 49 in the second dig. Queensland were batting for the draw in the second dig and had 12.4 overs left with 2 wickets in hand. But then Fergus O'Neill took 2 and 2 to win the game in absolute scenes. That keeps Queensland rooted to the bottom of the table. And then Western Australia jumped to second on the table after beating South Australia by 2 wickets. They were set 201 in the fourth innings and did it in 61 overs at the Wacker there. So that's what's happening with the Shield. I didn't see fucking huge numbers for, guys like someone like a Marcus Harris, someone like a Cameron Bancroft, someone like a Will Bukowski. And I mean, Bowen did some stuff, I suppose, but it was a bit low end on the Shield this week for, blockbuster names doing huge shit that I can then build a narrative around to sort of create a bit of hype.
Yeah, for the test against the West Indies in mid-January.
That's right.
Yeah. In November. Yeah.
Ben said right. it was just 3 games against the other 3 teams where just 6 states just played against each other.
Just played a game of cricket and a couple of guys succeeded.
Yeah.
Yep.
There were a couple of wins there, a couple of losses.
Yep.
And then we move on.
I don't. It's World Cup winning week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Bowling 8 wickets, good.
All right, #AskTGC. #AskTGC is brought to you by Ponting Wines. You can use the code GETAFEW for 20% off at pontingwines.com.au. You can use the code GETAFEW for 20% off at pontingwines.com.au. You know what, Pezza, I'm going to do? I'm going to go to pontingwines.com.
Yeah, go for it.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to my favourites tab. Enter age verification. That's what I'm talking about. Our wines, the collection. Okay, what do you want to talk about today?
A deep red. Give us a Shiraz or a Cab Sav.
I got a Cab Sav. It's got the close of play. Can we do it's a Cab Sav 2022.
Mm-hmm.
This is a quote from Ricky Ponting. You might remember him. Raising a glass with teammates at the close of play when the game was done and the crowd was gone. They were special moments. They were the special moments, he says.
Yeah.
Did you ever play with anyone who drank wine in the dressing room? I did.
Oh, no, but I wish I did. I was too, I'd like to, look, I wish that I'd done that. I wish I had the capital to go, let's just have a glass of wine. I played cricket with a guy known to the show who turned up to a Point of Grey match once with straight from the circuit with his training shorts on, socks, shoes, as expected, and nothing but a sleeveless vest that was stained with red wine, which was very funny.
That's classy.
That was that was a very good moment.
Well, the Ponting closer play Cabernet Sauvignon 2022. This is a wine that honours that tradition and is the perfect finale for any get-together. This is from Ben Riggs, who is obviously making the wines with Ricky. Soft and silky in style. This wine shows generous red berry fruits with touches of mint and clove. Langhorne Creek is famous for wines of pure drinking enjoyment, and this is a wine of great character and style. Delicious.
It's a great drop. It really is a great drop.
You know what, mate? At the end of this week, we're just going to take a spell.
Yep.
Have a breather. You know what? There might be a closer play. In this studio.
Yeah. That'd be nice. We're off from Friday, aren't we? Maybe a Thursday evening.
Yeah, I got a wedding on Friday.
Maybe a little Thursday evening to toast nice. To toast to the World Cup and the campaign that's been.
That's a good idea.
Bean lid.
Do you want to read #AskTGC or shall I?
I'd like to read it. This is from Manan. Boys!
Good one.
Speaking of yelling at the moment, just before we get into this,
here we go.
I believe we for those who missed it, we commentated or live streamed the second innings of the World Cup final. Yep. And we do, thankfully, due to the great people at Ponting Wines, have a fair amount of its stock. And perhaps we could actually offer our next door neighbour or our upstairs neighbour a couple of bottles of the Cab Sav close of play because we were fucking hooting and hollering.
There was some hooting and hollering.
Yeah. Manan says, boys, as you know, I work in the US and one of the people at work is Australian.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know him well, but I know he follows cricket from time to time. I've had a chat with him a couple of times when the Ashes were ongoing. So today I spot him and I can hardly contain my excitement. I go up to him and start talking about how India are in the final and how they're going to win. I talk about the magic of Jadeja and how Shami is from another dimension, how Rohit and Kohli are going to score centuries. He patiently listens and I'm getting more and more pumped because I take his silence for nervousness and acquiescence to the inevitable. Finally, after my rant is over, he smiles and asks, "That's great. So who are they playing in the final?" Who are they playing in the final? Who are they playing in the final? No matter what the result, we've been alphaed by you coats. Again, is there anything worse than finding out everything you put your hope in and define yourself by is meaningless? This was supposed to be our coming out party, the official start to the Asian century. It was supposed to show all the colonial powers that we've arrived. We will show in front of all the cameras of the world that we have our pride and our self-confidence back. But it turns out that the camera we think we've been flexing into is a mirror and nobody else gives a shit. So my question is this. I don't have a question. Fuck colonialism and fuck you too. P.S. Great show, boys. I'll be upping my Patreon contribution. Hey, worth pointing out with India, and I know some of the people from India who watch us are surprised to learn that we're Australian. Which is fair enough. I probably couldn't detect a Tamil accent, from a Northern Indian accent.
Yeah.
But Australia too were the a country that suffered from colonialism as well, and still does. India, great colonial farm. Australia, colonial prison. There's a lot for us to agree upon.
Who are we playing in the final?
Oh, no, I missed that. I'll go to Crick Info, I think still does some stuff.
There's only one way to sign off this episode, Pezza.
No, Pozza.
Yeah, and Bozza.
Yeah.
Mark Bosnich.
Bosnich.
2 losses, 9 wins. 9-2. Fuck off.